Hari Om. Today we will proceed with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, from verse number 7. This chapter started with a question from Arjuna to the Lord to explain what is the difference between sannyasa and tyaga. Directly translated, both sannyasa and tyaga mean to give up. So the Lord first, to answer Arjuna's question, he first mentioned the opinion of other people which was prevailing at that time. So learned people and sages had differences of opinion on what is sannyasa and tyaga, and this the Lord explained up to verse number 3. Then in verse number 4, the Lord said both sannyasa and tyaga are actually one and the same. The only thing to know about sannyasa and tyaga is that this renunciation is of three types. That is sattvic renunciation, rajasic renunciation, and tamasic renunciation. So the meaning of both sannyasa and tyaga are one and the same. And what the Lord said, his opinion he gave in verse number 5 was that three actions must never be given up, and that is yajna, dana, tapa. Yajna means all the prayers and rituals, dana means charity, and tapaha means austerities. And why they should not be given up, the Lord explained that because they are the purifiers. They, if done in the right manner, in the sattvic way, they purify a person's mind, and that purification of mind leads to a thirst for spiritual knowledge. So having explained that now, in today's verses, starting from verse 7, the Lord will define what is tamasic renunciation, what is rajasic renunciation, and what is sattvic renunciation. So, for one in whom the knowledge of reality has dawned, that person will discharge all the actions as a surrender to the Lord. So once one has the knowledge of reality, the actions will be performed as a surrender to the Lord. Such a person is described as a gunatit in chapter 14. Gunatit means one who has transcended the three gunas. However, in these next few verses, Sri Krishna will talk about that person in whom this knowledge of reality has not yet arisen. So this person does not have knowledge of the self, and he has not developed a thirst for the knowledge of the self. So in that case, the Lord says they will still perform actions, but their actions can be classified under, their renunciation can be classified under three types. So it will depend on the gunas which are prevailing, or the what we call are the prominent gunas in that person. So according to the gunas of the person, they will perform renunciation in the sattvic way, or rajasic way, or tamasic way. So if you recall in chapter 18 verse 3, Krishna mentioned that some of the acharyas, learned people, say that all actions should be given up because all actions are considered as evil. But Krishna wants to refute this view by dividing all actions into three types: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So Krishna's opinion is all actions must be performed, but we should know which is the right way to perform actions and how to renounce the action. So first of all, let's see what is tamasic renunciation or tamasic sannyasa. So if one who is desirous to eradicate the cause of bondage were to give up kamya karmas are those which are undertaken with selfish motives, then the giving up of such karmas is definitely justifiable. But Krishna says niyatasya in this verse number 7, he says niyatasya means niyatam karmas. So niyatam karmas are obligatory duties. They must be done, like yajna, dana, tapa are obligatory duties of every human being, depending on our stages of life also. So the Lord says, niyatasya karmano giving of actions which are obligatory actions, and anyone who sannyasa gives up such obligatory duties and responsibilities, na upapadyate, is not justifiable, is not allowed. Why? Because Krishna has mentioned in chapter 18 verse 5 that yajna dana tapa fall under obligatory duties which must be performed with the right attitude and will purify an individual. So this is a strong reminder to Arjuna not to give up his bounden duty as a soldier on the battlefield, but do his duty with the right attitude. So in chapter 6 verse 3, Krishna had said, for a sage, meaning a spiritual seeker who wishes to unite with the Supreme, action is said to be the means. So one should never give up action, especially obligatory action. So the Lord says in this verse 7, Tasya, for one who parityaga, for one who abandons such obligatory duties and responsibilities, does so out of moha. Moha means delusion. Delusion is defined as misconception, misinterpretation, or misunderstanding. Wrongful understanding of renunciation. One wrongly thinks that the state of sannyasa is when I just give up all my duties and responsibilities. Such ignorant people do not understand that the purpose of performing our duties is for inner purification. They wrongly think that giving up all duties and responsibilities, they will attain spiritual upliftment, which is definitely the wrong type of thinking. So the Lord says such a kind of renunciation to give up obligatory duties is parikirtita, declared to be tamasa. It's a tamasic type of renunciation. Not understanding the purpose of performing, you just give up all your obligatory duties, thinking you will rise spiritually. That is the wrong attitude. So now Krishna has explained about tamasic people. They renounce or give up actions out of ignorance. So now Krishna will explain about rajasic people. They also give up actions, but for different reasons. So the Lord says, yet that one, this person also does not want to perform or undertake their obligatory actions, not out of ignorance like the tamasic person. This person tyajet, relinquishes, avoids performing such karma, actions which are compulsory duties, due to what? Kaya, body, klesha, suffering. So due to body suffering and bhaya, due to fear. For his thinking is iti tas eva dukham. All these actions which I am giving up, even though they are obligatory, I am giving up because they are dukham, they are very painful. So for such a person, any obligatory actions that give him bodily discomfort, suffering, no tangible self-benefit, he cannot see what is the benefit, immediate benefit of doing these duties, or are challenging, he will readily give up, and he will only undertake obligatory duties that give him pleasure, comforts, rewards. And the Lord says, Saha, such a person, renouncing all obligatory duties out of bodily discomfort, kritva, resorts to rajasic tyaga, that is called rajasic renunciation. And what is the outcome of rajasic renunciation? The Lord says, such a person na eva will surely not labet, acquire any phalam, fruit. So the person may enjoy a lot of comfort and pleasure by giving up painful or difficult obligatory duties, but certainly the Lord says he will not get the spiritual fruit, that is inner purification, as a result of his tyaga, as a result of his renunciation. In fact, more worse, by giving up compulsory duties, he will incur papam. There will not be any inner purification. All the impurities of ego, anger, jealousy will continue to exist, and worse, it will lead to his spiritual downfall. In chapter 2, verse 33, Krishna has reminded Arjuna the consequences of avoiding his bounded duty, which will lead to papam only. That brings us to verse number 9. Since both Rajasic and Tamasic renunciation lead to a person's spiritual downfall, now Krishna explains what is Sattvic renunciation, which will lead to spiritual upliftment. It is a common misconception that only by giving up duties and responsibilities one can find time to engage in spiritual path, study of scriptures, meditation. While the path of total renunciation is indeed a noble path, yet one should never take up this path until the mind is fully prepared, fully purified to totally surrender to the Lord. However, for the majority of people who are involved in discharging duties and responsibilities, Sri Krishna says you also can attain salvation by remaining as a householder, discharging all your duties and responsibilities, but with the right attitude. So Krishna now explains what is Sattvic renunciation. Yet that niyatam karma means our daily compulsory duties as prescribed and allocated for each individual based on time and place. Time meaning as we age through life we have different duties, example student life, householder life, etc. Place means at home you have different duties, in the workplace you play different roles, so it changes according to time and place. So whatever the duties and responsibilities you have, the Lord says must be kriyate, must be undertaken, cannot be given up. So sannyasa is not giving up but taking up all your duties and responsibilities. What is the understanding when performing all these duties? The Lord says, iti, that all duties and responsibilities eva karyam must or verily have to be performed. They are part and parcel of my duties only. The person understands that the performance of these duties will lead to my spiritual growth if done with the right attitude. That right attitude is that it will bring about inner purification. So I should not perform these duties in a grudging or complaining manner. Thus, to nourish my spiritual growth, I have to perform all these niyatam karmas or compulsory duties. What is the attitude to perform these duties? The Lord says, tyaktva, by renouncing the sangam, the attachment to phalam, the fruit. Every action, whether we expect or not, will yield a result. To one who has dedicated all actions to the Lord, the result may also be favorable or unfavorable due to the effects of past actions fructifying in this life. However, for one who has surrendered to the Lord, learns to accept all results as Ishvara Prasadam. That means all results are from the Lord, and therefore if favorable, I should not get carried away and become proud, arrogant, etc. But thank the Lord. If unfavorable, I must not get dejected, angry, and accept that the Lord wants me to learn some lesson from this result. This is what it means not to get attached to the fruits of the action. It is never the action that affects us, but the result of the action that affects our state of mind. So the hallmark of a devotee of Lord is one who has conquered the mind and is not subject to mood swings, one who has a balanced mind under all circumstances. So therefore, one should or one must perform all the obligatory duties and consider oneself to be an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So the Lord says, Saha Tyaga, that kind of Tyaga, renunciation, is Mataha, considered by me as of Sattvika type. So this is the conclusion of the Lord as to the right type of sannyasa, renunciation, to practice, not giving up actions but doing all actions with the right attitude. Now the Lord continues to highlight the glory of such a devotee who undertakes all actions with a mind firmly established on the Lord. The Lord says, Tyagi, in verse number 10, He says, Tyagi, or renunciate, is one who possesses sattva, inner perfection, meaning mental purity, not subject to mood swings, and this state of inner perfection is not some fleeting quality of such a devotee, but the Lord says is sam avishtaha. Sam means full, avishtaha means permeated. So this purity of mind is totally, the devotee's mind is totally immersed in this state of purity, in the state of self-control. So any external situation at any given time cannot upset his mental equipoise. Such a person's mind is totally fixed on the ultimate goal of life, that is to attain moksha. He discharges all his duties as an offering to the Lord. So the Lord says, he naha does not dvesti. He does not hate or find troublesome a burden. At the same time, he does not find any akushalam, unbefitting of his status or position, or avoid any karma. So he does not find any duty which is troublesome, and he does not find any duty which he finds is unbefitting to him. So he recognizes that he has to perform them. He does not shun duties that give him pain or discomfort, nor does he get angry or upset if any duty does not give him rewards or recognition. He looks upon all actions as obligatory duties that he is required to perform for the benefit of his spiritual growth only, and for no other reason. So the Lord says regarding kushale, befitting actions, pleasant duties, he does not anusajjate, he does not become attached to that. So there are generally two types of actions that we get attached to. Good actions that give us some recognition. Suppose someone does some work that gets a lot of recognition and fame and respect. This devotee is one who does not keep on hankering for only that type of work. Also, other type of actions which are forbidden actions, but they bring a lot of pleasures, enjoyment. Even these Satyagi is not attached to and easily drops all such actions, recognizing that they are a barrier to his spiritual growth. Ultimately, such a person, the Lord says in verse number 10, becomes a Medhavi. Medhavi means enlightened one, established in the thought Aham Atma Asmi, Aham Brahma Asmi. Meda means knowledge of the self. One who is endowed with Meda is a Medhavi. Such a person, following this path of self-purification, becomes a Medhavi. The purified mind will motivate a person to have more higher, more noble thoughts about the purpose and goal of human life. So this is what we call, the Lord says, such a person then becomes chinna, free from samshayaha, doubts. Doubts are caused by ignorance, and the only way to remove doubts therefore is to attain knowledge. The transformation is from I am the body which has Atma to I am the Atma which has this temporary body. And what happens when all doubts and confusion are removed? The Lord has mentioned in chapter 2 verse 53 that a person who is devoid of confusion and ignorance will attain God. So that brings us to verse number 11. In this verse, the Lord stresses that as human beings, we cannot practically give up all actions. Even if we take up formal renunciation and live in an ashram, there will be duties and responsibilities to be undertaken. Since it is not possible for anyone to give up all actions, therefore Sri Krishna's advice is to perform all your duties but cultivate the right attitude in discharging your actions. So the Lord says in verse number 11, Karmani, actions, tyaktum, to be given up, it is na sakyam, it is not possible. Here the Lord is also refuting the earlier advice of learned people, stating that all actions should be given up as all actions are evil because they lead to bondage. In chapter 18 verse 3, as no one can give up all actions asesataha totally. The only difference is the type or number of actions you have to do to fulfill your duties and responsibilities. Why is it not possible to give up all actions? The Lord says, as long as one deha, this body, brita, holds on, meaning as long as you have attachment with this body, as long as a human being identifies with this body, he will initiate all actions for the comfort and well-being of this body. So even performance of minimum actions of eating, drinking, resting, exercise cannot be avoided in order to maintain even the basic activities of. In order to even maintain these basic activities, one has to engage in some form of work or duties. A formal renunciate has to go begging for alms as a minimum act of maintaining this body. No one can avoid actions in totality. A Dehabrit is one who is devoid of supreme knowledge that he is the eternal Atman and thus follows the likes and dislikes to lead their daily lives. So the Lord says, as long as we have this body, we have to perform certain actions to just even maintain this body. So the Lord also was encouraging Arjuna that as a Kshatriya, as a soldier, you also have some basic duties. You cannot run away from them. You have to perform them. So giving up all actions is not possible for a spiritual seeker who has not yet attained inner purification. Then what is the practice of renunciation for such a spiritual aspirant? Krishna answers in this verse here. He says, Yaha, the one who, instead of giving up all actions, Tyagi, renounces not the action, but phala karma, the fruits of the action. That is a true renunciate, not giving up actions, but renouncing the fruits of the action. When you perform all your actions, the attitude should be that you are the non-doer. You are an instrument in the hands of the Lord, and whatever results that come are a result of the past prarabdha karmas, which are the prasadam or the blessings from the Lord. So the Lord concludes in this verse number 11 by saying, Saha, such a person, avidiyate, is called iti tyagi. This is a true renunciate. A definition of a renunciate is given here by Krishna, based not on the clothes he wears or where he resides, but by his inner attitude to all his duties and responsibilities. And he does not grudgingly do his duties, nor does he lament the outcome of the duties when they are unfavorable, and always thanks the Lord under all circumstances. Verse number 12, the Lord says, since we cannot avoid all actions and every action performed by an individual can fall under three categories, good, bad or mixed, and based on these three types of actions we will accumulate punyam, merits, or papam, demerits, or a mix of punyam and papam. In order to exhaust these results we have to take birth again and again. So how does one break out of this cycle of birth and deaths? Sri Krishna explains here in this beautiful verse number 12. He says, Anishtam. Anishtam means harmful, bad or unfavorable karma phalam, which starts right from birth itself, being born in suffering conditions, inadequate food to eat, no roof over your head, what you call wrong type of environment, or ishtam means agreeable, good, favorable conditions. One is born in a rich or spiritual family, adequate amount of food and money, comfortable house to stay, or mishram. Mishram means mixed, both partially good and partially bad. Sri Krishna says, Trividam phalam. These are the three kinds of results from karmana, from all actions. So every action we do, you can either get good results, bad results, or mixed results. So why the three varieties? Because cause and effect. Due to the cause of past karmas, we are now in this life facing the effects. Since actions are of three kinds, good, bad and mixed, results also will be of three kinds. So due to our past actions, we have no choice what punyam or papam we have to face, as we have no choice over which karma will fructify when, at what time and how. So we are trapped in this repeated cycle of birth and deaths. So the Lord says, who are the ones who are caught in this endless cycle of birth and deaths? Sri Krishna says, Atyaginam. Atyaginam means those who have not renounced their attachment to the results of their actions. Those who constantly perform all duties and responsibilities but hanker for the fruits of their action. This person undertakes actions according to his raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. So this person undertakes all kinds of nishida, forbidden, and kamya, desire prompted action. So as such, the three types of results, good, bad and mixed, will, the Lord says here, bhavati, will accrue, or a person will reap pretya after death in the next life. In the next birth, such types of karma phalam will fructify. Identification of ourselves as the karta, as the doer, and expecting the results of the action as a bhokta will constantly tie us in this repeated cycle of birth and deaths to exhaust punyam and papam. So the Lord says, who can escape the cycle of endless births and deaths? The Lord says, but to indicate a person who is different from the atyaginam, the Lord says this person who is the samnyasinam, the one who is a renunciate, having renounced the attachment, hankering for karma palam, fruit of actions, na kvachit, not ever will be afflicted by the three palams after death. When we perform any action with an attitude of total surrender to the Lord, such actions become devoid of ego or hankering for results. As such, there is no residual effect from such type of actions. Such actions are devoid of punyam and papam, so there is no cause for rebirth. In this verse, Krishna is indicating that sannyasa will therefore, when we perform the actions with this attitude of sannyasa, we will transcend this punyam and papam also. So that brings us now to the next verse. Here, that the Lord explains also that in the next verse 13. Now, since the beings, as long as they are alive, cannot avoid action, also for human beings, every action performed with selfless motives frees us from the bondage of karmas. So now Lord Krishna wants to explain further about the 5 causes that enable one to accomplish all actions. So the Lord addresses Arjuna as Mahabaho, may you nibodha, may you learn, be attentive to me, as the teachings are coming from the most authoritative source, the Lord himself, who is the Jagat Guru of the whole creation. So now Sri Krishna is going to explain the secret of right action, so we may not incur these 3 types of palam, good, bad and mixed. The Lord says, Itani, these are the pancha, the 5 karanani causes in order to siddhaye, in order to accomplish sarva karmani, all actions. So there are 5 causes to accomplish all actions. So here Sri Krishna is going to touch on a very important point, that Atman, the consciousness, is the non-doer, not responsible for any actions. Atman remains in the body as the witness consciousness and is different from the 5 causes of action. But for the ignorant person who identifies himself with the 5 components of action, then such a person will face the consequences of good, bad or mixed results in the next life. So Krishna says, I am about to proktani, speak of what I am about to speak about has been spoken of in the Samkhya, Vedantic texts, scriptural texts that deal with kritante, termination of actions. Krita means actions, ante means end. So kritante means the culmination of actions. Here Sri Krishna is speaking about the teachings which deal with the subject matter of Jiva, Brahman, Sravanam, Mananam, etc. Such a devotee with the dawning of knowledge comes to the understanding of how to perform actions in the right way and free themselves from the bondage of actions. So the end portion of the Vedic text deal with self-knowledge, where the devotee comes to acknowledge Aham Atma Asmi, I am the witness consciousness in this body and I am the non-doer of all actions. This devotee has followed the right attitude of Sattvic Sannyasa when discharging all duties and responsibilities. So Sri Krishna says, I will speak to you about this very, what we call important knowledge. So what is this self-knowledge, path of Jnana Yoga? It is the understanding that there are two components in each individual. Atma is the consciousness which is not visible, and Anatma is the body which is visible and made up of 5 elements. Example, fan and electricity. So Atma exists independent of Anatma. Before, during and after the existence of this body, the Atma continues to exist independently. So here the Lord explains about these differences, and he mentions the 5 causes of action also. So here he says, what are the 5 causes of action, which he'll start to explain in verse number 14, the next verse, which we will resume with the next recording. Hari Om Tat Sat.